Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Montreal, Quebec, Canada for the start of Season 3. It is the MidWest Division 3 Championship Series here for Season 3, and what a race this is going to be to kick things off here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Quebec, Canada for the Canadian Grand Prix. Hello and welcome everybody, thank you for joining in. My name is Fallen Monkeys here in the commentaries booth, ready to take you through the very exciting racing action we have here today for the start of the brand new season. But of course, before we kick off the race, we have, as always, our short qualifying session, and we'll jump over with the two Haas drivers here. Snooker ML leading the way on the outlap, taking us around this track. I'll be honest, one of my favorite tracks here, a little bit of a bias given this is my home country and the Midwest's home country, or one of them for the most part, if I'm going to be honest here. So a great, fantastic track to kick off the brand new season, and I am very excited for this, and I hope you all are too. Lots of some familiar faces here when you're looking at the timing tables, but some new faces here as well, but we'll get to know them for sure as this session plays out, and a full 20 driver grid here today for the first race. This is what you love to see, 20 drivers out on track battling out. We'll ride on board with its heavy S in the Ferrari, sporting that number 19 Scuderia Ferrari car here, coming around down the back straight, getting ready to lead the way, starting a flying lap here, and let's ride on board. But actually that looks to be maybe an invalidation around the final corner chicane. You see a slowdown here, so let's go back to it looks like Hey Tight Gaming, Twitch TV, Hey Tight Gaming here out on a flying lap, leading the way in the number 14 Haas car. Came through turn 1 and 2 all right. You see turns 3 and 4, little chicane there. Down the hill, you can clip the inside of 3, maybe not so much 4. Hard braking zone for the next set of corners here. Quickly on the power around the bend. Open up DRS here. Down the first of what is 3 DRS straights here, down into the next set of corners here. Lots of chicanes here in Canada, now barreling down. Now this is probably one of the more complex corners here. It is L'Épingle, the hairpin corner here at Canada. Very tight. You see down in second gear, some drivers go all the way down to first, but of course quickly on the power on the exit, because you're heading straight down 200 miles an hour, 300 kilometers an hour through the second DRS straight before the hardest corner, the final chicane into the wall of champions on your left there. Gotta stay out of that, as we all know, across the line, and it's a 109.3 for Hey Tight Gaming as he kicks off our qualifying session with a bang. A sub 110, Clogmonger with a 111.6 in the AlphaTauri on his debut lap here in Division 3. So not a bad lap. Let's switch over to Rise. We got accustomed to Rise in the Red Bull last season, but a little bit of an off-season switch, a contract he could not refuse, and we're seeing Rise now in the Racing Point. Let's see what his first lap is going to look like. It's a 111.5 in that brand new pink Mercedes, so not a bad time. But Hey Tight Gaming still leading the way, although Rise's teammate GDB coming very close, both in the 109.3, but it looks to be about 5/100ths of a second of a difference between these two drivers. Now let's move over. I'm gonna see if I can find somebody on a lap right now. It looks as though this is the best Pawns, who is just crossing the line in the Alfa Romeo, setting a 110.8. Good enough for P7 thus far out of 10 drivers. Half the grid has a time on the board. The other half working on getting that done, or subject to being at the bottom of the grid for qualifying. Of course, no full qualifying here. It is just one session, short qualifying, down to 13 minutes and 20 seconds to go here. So still loads of time to put something on the board, but of course, drivers who have been out on their first laps, who maybe were not able to get a lap through. That is, unfortunately, when you consider it a bit of a wasted tire set here around Canada. Now we're seeing lots of drivers out on track trying to figure out positioning, how they want to go about starting their flying laps here. Possibly some drivers on their in-laps getting out of the way as well. Now let's quickly switch over. Let's put the tire graph on for everybody watching at home here for a little bit. Most of the drivers opting for the softs, but it appears as though we have both Rise and Unholy Red Eye putting on the medium tires. Unholy Red Eye, the quicker of the two drivers so far, with a 110.5. We have Houdini 1313, who is just starting a flying lap now here in the number 13 Ferrari. And coming around turns 1 and 2, let's see how it's going to be. Has a Red Bull in front of him, maybe a little bit of traffic. That's either VTEC. That is VTEC, actually, who is very in the way. But we're seeing Houdini. That's an invalidation. VTEC, ooh, a little bit in the way there for these two drivers. Not what you're used to seeing here in qualifying. Normally, drivers do get out of the way, albeit I guess it might not have mattered too much for Houdini, as he was on an invalidated lap. You can see now getting out of the way for his teammate. It's Heavy, who is on a lap in that number 19 Ferrari, looking to be on a very solid lap. It's a purple Sector 2 for him, so faster than the last lap around, and we'll see if this is going to be faster than the lap set by Haytide Gaming earlier on in this session. The current pole position time, provisional pole position time here in this short qualifying, now through around the final chicane, heading towards the line. It's going to be close. It's a 109.8, so lost out a little bit there in Sector 3, I think. You have to absolutely nail that final chicane. Gotta get the exit you need to head to the line. Guitar Maniac in the Renault diving into the pits after an invalidated lap, so going to conserve the tires. VTEC is just starting a lap right now. C Freeman in the AlphaTauri here, back at it for another season, diving into the pits after an invalidated lap for himself. So we'll stick to VTEC in the Red Bull for now on those medium tires coming around a lap, and we'll see what the pace is looking like here in the Red Bull for VTEC here for Season 3. Now, not too much of a break here between Season 2 and Season 3. We had that fun little event, was so happy to be part of that, the Bahrain short full race, full qualifying, very exciting, tons of racing action, and got me very excited for Season 3. And so far, this qualifying session's got me there as well. We'll see what VTEC can do now, coming down the back straight, opens up DRS, heading towards the final chicane, the Wall of Champions corner here. Gotta stay out of it. You see you get close, but don't hit it, because that will make things very bad. And across the line, it's P9 for VTEC on those mediums, so right around the pace of Unholy Red Eye, who is also on those mediums, just a tiny little bit slower. But look at that, young DJ CJ. He was on an absolute flyer for the other Red Bull on those soft tires. A 109.1, fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far. But Wild Maida coming across the line, he showed a lot of pace previously, both last week in the interdivisional event and previously reserving in Division 3 in Season 2. He goes 8th fastest in the Haas this season, or not the Haas, the Williams, excuse me, in this season as a full-time seat, and puts himself 8th fastest. So 110.3, but looks to be possibly on another lap now, a second lap, looking to improve on that pace right away. So keep an eye out on him and how he's going to go around. Right behind him, Snooker, who's on 2-lap-old soft tires here right now. Still no time on the board, so it looks as though track limits might be affecting Snooker just a little bit here in this first race around Gilles Villeneuve circuit, but we'll see if he can get a lap through here. We'll jump on board with the Haas driver. As you see, a little bit of traffic. See Freeman getting out of the way on an out lap. He is at the moment. It's a purple second sector, near 43 flat, but very deep into the hairpin corner goes Snooker, as that might be a little bit of a time loss here for the Haas driver, but we'll see if he can make it up coming down Sector 3, down the long back straight here. Very much favors a top speed setup down this straight, but of course this final chicane, oh so difficult to handle well here to get that maximum speed. Snooker, it's a 112.4 as the first lap, puts him into P16, but might have seen some areas there that he can improve on for his next lap around. Now we'll see Guitar Maniac on a lap. I don't think I've given the Renault too much love here so far in qualifying, with still 7 minutes and 40 seconds to go. 16 out of the 20 drivers have set laps here. Expect all 20 to put at least a lap on the board. I think that's Houdini a little bit further ahead, but track limits very much so affecting the Ferrari driver, as I think this is the third time we've seen him coming around the track, but still unable to put a time up. Now Guitar Maniac about to cross the line. It's he's going to set a 1:11.7 on those soft tires, so not the quickest lap. Goes 16th fastest, and might need to try to find a little bit more time here before qualifying is over, but the track will speed up here as the qualifying progresses. We're gonna get more grip on the circuit, and we'll see times start to fall. See Freeman coming around the final corner. He's looking to set a lap. Let's see what his time is gonna be. Across the line, it's a 1:10.8, so 13th fastest, and you can see how close the grid is. Essentially 109s to 111s, a little bit of a 2-second gap, but the majority of these drivers sitting right around into the 110s, but it's still young DJ CJ who is leading the way back out here with a vengeance in the Red Bull, excuse me. We were used to seeing him probably in the Haas last season, but opted to go to Red Bull, and really paying dividends for him there so far, as looking to be a very solid pace here for young DJ CJ, as that was another driver who just set a lap here that came across the line. That was one of the Ferraris. I think that was Houdini who finally got a lap in. It's a 1:10.3, so 8th fastest. Unholy Red Eye now on the softs, and we'll see how his time is going to improve here. Across the line, knocks off a 7/10 of a second. It's a 109.748 for Unholy Red Eye. Puts him and that Mercedes up into P5. A top 5 showing here, but still 5.5 minutes to go. Murph and Selly was on a lap, I should say, but it is an invalidation. Track limits is definitely affecting a lot of drivers here so far in this session. From what I've noticed, lots of red tracks, lots of invalidated times, and it is something the drivers are going to have to work on here going into the race, because of course in qualifying, if you do a bad lap, well, your lap just gets deleted. It's not necessarily the end of the world. You lose out on that lap, maybe a little bit of grip on tires, but you can just go right again. Now, of course, in the race, that's a different story. You don't necessarily lose your timed lap. I mean, I think you do, but it's not really all that important. What's more important is that you get time second penalties that are added to your time, and that is definitely something that can affect the outcome of the race, especially if we see those late safety cars here, as some tracks are very prone to doing, especially once the tires start wearing out. The initial grip is gone. Somewhere near the end of the stints, near the end of the race, you could definitely see an accident, and if that safety car comes out, that essentially bunches up the entire grid right back up together, and can make things very non-beneficial if you do have these track penalties here for the race. But we'll see how the drivers can handle that. We're back on the Red Bull, riding with the wing of VTEC as he comes around here through the chicane before the hairpin corner, approaches a DRS detection zone through the end of Sector 2, goes about 5/10 of a second faster than his time he's got on the board, looking on pace for about a 1:10.1, which does bump him up to right around P8 if he sticks to that pace, but he still has a sector to go, including one of the more challenging corners on the circuit here. This final one, as I've mentioned, right through. Now I'm seeing two retirements, and one of them is Snooker, who looked to have some connection issues as VTech goes 8th fastest, but the other one is Subtle But Whole, who actually gets disqualified out of this qualifying session, so will be starting all the way down in P20. So not what the McLaren driver was hoping for here for his first race. But I'm really not too sure what happened there for Subtle But Whole to get a disqualification. But he will press on for sure. Means more of a race, and it's heavy. You see on the track there. That's the end of his qualifying session. I think Wall of Champions took its first victim here in qualifying, as that Ferrari is not looking to be in all that great a shape. I think we might get a better view on board with Maida here. No, the Ferrari did get towed away in time, but I think that might have been a bounce off a Wall of Champions, either that or clipping the curb and into the wall, and you are going at such high speeds, 200 miles an hour, 300 kilometers an hour, a little bit less. That's just a tiny little bit of unsettling of the car, and that could mean the end of the session. And you see how close these walls are here in Canada. We are on a man-made island after all, not much room for runoff areas here. So you gotta stay within the track, you gotta stay within the limits if you want to succeed here. And so far, it's looking as though these limits are affecting a lot of the drivers. Now, it looks like Maida is on a lap for the Williams, or riding on board, looking to be on a flyer. A little bit deep, though, into the hairpin corner, so that's going to be a little bit of time lost there, as slightly late on the brakes for a Wild Maida, but barreling down the back straight, did get a little bit of extra runoff, so maybe a little bit of extra speed here through the final chicane there, past the Wall of Champions, I should say, heading down towards the line. It's a 109.8 for Maida, as he goes 9th fastest on those 3-lap-old soft tires. With about a minute to go here in qualifying, it's still young DJ CJ who is sitting on provisional pole, but Haytide Gaming is out on is about to start a flying lap. GDB was on a flying lap, but that's an invalidated lap here for GDB, so that could be a little bit costly, but still might have enough time to go around for one more. But that fuel light I'm seeing might not be good sign. Unholy Red Ice currently in 4th, looking to be on a maybe not then. I was gonna say on a very slow flying lap, but I think might have just finished his flying lap to bring him up into 4th fastest. Chief Braids, I believe, might be on a lap right now. We'll see if he's going to complete it, coming through the final chicane here, heading towards the line. Can he maybe challenge for pole for this race? Goes up to 3rd fastest. It's a 109.349, so not quick enough for pole, but good enough for a top 3 for that Williams. Now let's switch over to Haytide Gaming, who's gone purple in the 2nd sector, going about 3.5 tenths faster, but he's got to keep it up for one more sector here in that Haas. What can he do? He's got a few corners to go. Can he keep it valid around the final chicane, heading towards the line? Show me the time. What's it gonna be? It's a 108.925. So Haytide Gaming was on an absolute flyer. He takes provisional pole position here in Canada at the end of qualifying, and this might be how it's going to stand here, as Unholy Red Eye diving into the pits. Chief Braids, I don't think, is on a lap right now, as he's out of fuel, it appears. Murph and Silly, he's down at he's going down the back straight now. Not much ERS in the tank, but we'll see what the time is going to be. But unfortunately, that's an invalidation here on the final chicane corner, so that lap isn't going to count. Right around the identical time, though, so it would have kept him in P7. Maida looks to be on a lap right now, but not using any DRS down the back straight. So I think that's it for qualifying now. Once the Williams get into the pits or they retire out, and it's going to be Haytide Gaming who takes pole position for the start of Season 3 here at the Canadian Grand Prix. after what proved to be a very exciting qualifying. I think young DJ CJ thought he had that in the bag with his 109.1. That stood tall for what seemed to be a good 13 out of the 18 minutes here in this qualifying session. But at the last possible moment when it mattered most, Hairpin Gaming got the lap he needed, pumped it through, crossed the line, snagged pole position, and we will be having a Haas starting in P1, a Red Bull in P2. Now, once Chief Braids gets towed into the pits, I'll take us through the rest of the order here for qualifying, and this has got me very excited for the race that's to come here, the Canadian Grand Prix. It is going to be a very, very exciting race, that is for certain, so you will not want to go anywhere. But it is Hairpin Gaming in the Haas, starting in P1 on pole position. Young DJ CJ on the front row of the grid, right alongside him. Chief Braids in third in the Williams. GDB in fourth. Unholy Red Eye rounding out the top five, with his teammate in the Mercedes, Disgruntled Muppet, in P6. Murph and Selly in 7th. It's Heavy in 8th. A Wild Maida in 9th. And it's the best Pones in P10, rounding out the top 10. VTech in 11th, C Freeman in 12th, Houdini in 13th, K-Dog in 14th, and Guitar Maniac rounding out the top 15, with Clogmonger in 16th, Rise in 17th, Kaz in 18th, Snooker in 19th, and Subtle But Whole rounding out the grid in that McLaren after the disqualification with about 3 minutes to go in qualifying, and he will be starting at the back end down in P20, so very much a recovery drive now. Here, that was the end of qualifying. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I hope you're enjoying the stream so far, as we have nice, clear, sunny skies for the race here. This is what you love to see. Clear skies, no rain to rain on everyone's day. The drivers can push, they can be at their absolute fastest, and this is exactly what we wanted here for the start of the season. Clear skies. We're going to be taking a moment here, just letting the drivers get their strategies ready, get into that mindset, figure out how they want to go about, maybe tweak a few things on the setup of what they're legally allowed to do under Parc Fermé regulations here. But once we get the cue from Clogmonger, we will be able to jump into the formation lap and then, of course, the race. And I will be back in just a moment. Fuel up, get a quick glass of water, and we will be back very shortly to take you through the formation lap and the start of the Canadian Grand Prix. Alrighty, we have the cue. Clogmonger has given us the okay. The drivers are readying up. We are just about ready to start off the race here at the Canadian Grand Prix. 12 corners on this man-made island circuit here at Parc Jean Drapeau, and it is going to be a good one here. And that is one thing I can say for certain. It is the start of the new season, Season 3 of MidWest Formula 1 Esports League here. And here we go, the formation lap led by Hairpin Gaming as he takes us through a lap, the warm-up lap, to get some heat in those tires. Speaking of tires, let's take a quick look at this. So, top 10. All starting on the soft tires, as we would expect, given they had set their qualifying times on those soft tires. So that is Hairpin Gaming all the way down to the best Pones. They will all be on these soft tires, and slightly worn soft tires at that, given that they did do their qualifying lap on there. Now, poor man's pole position on the other hand, so that is best of the rest. Outside of the top 10, VTech, he's starting on the medium tires. Now you can see the predicted pit stop strategy. It's showing either a soft medium medium or a soft medium hard. So in other words, soft medium medium, a two-stop. Now, if you're looking at starting on the medium tires, you might just be able to one-stop go a medium to hard strategy, or at least reverse the two-stop strategy, maybe medium softs to be on that quicker tire. Now, of course, you can do a medium soft, or a soft mediums and extend those mediums very long, but you do need to push and extend the softs a little bit longer as well if you do that strategy. But I know here around Canada, these soft tires have a lot of pace, but crucially the mediums can have a lot of pace here as well. Not overly familiar all that much with the softs, but I know the hards, but I know the mediums do have pace, as do the softs naturally. So VTech on the mediums, Houdini on the mediums, Kaz FSJ on the mediums, and Snooker also on the mediums. Everybody else starting on the soft tires for what is going to be 35 laps around the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, the Canadian Grand Prix here. It is going to be a good one. Get your popcorn, get your excitement ready as we see Settle But Whole rounding the final corner, getting his place on the grid, and once he does that, we will get started. 35 laps here around for the Canadian Grand Prix once we see those 5 red lights. So here we go. You hear the engines revving. We are just about ready to kick off Season 3, and here we go. Up to 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 red lights. And they're off, and we are racing here to start Season 3, and it's a very good start from Haytide Gaming, as you see, barreling through into Turn 1. I think that might have been a Wild Maida or Chief Braze, I think, going right down, splitting the 2 Mercedes here, I believe, going up into what looked to be P3, but you're seeing here as they're running off, my timing tables are completely bonkers here. As you see, big contact between Settle But Whole and the other driver there, as nearly a spin. And you're seeing now that was the Racing Point Rise who nearly hit the wall. There's already some end plates flying off here, but it looks as though Haytide Gaming really getting a good start. GDB in third now as he's really chasing down young DJ CJ in the Red Bull. It looks like the Red Bull might be having some issues here early on. Down the inside goes GDB to try to go up into second and pulls the move off to perfection as he is now going to start chasing down the leader. But young DJ CJ not too sure what's happening here to him as his pace is completely falling off. Now, VTech and Houdini had a little bit of a battle here, and right behind, you're seeing how close. Here comes Guitar Maniac now, passing C Freeman. Clogmonger getting past his teammate. Are we going to see maybe side by side? No. As you saw, that was one of the AlphaTauris diving into the pits. C Freeman needing to get some early repairs. Rise as well needing some early repairs. But here through the first lap, for the most part, everybody getting through relatively safely, other than Rise and C Freeman, who got caught up into incidents. But Haytide Gaming is absolutely running away here in these early stages. Already a 2-second gap to GDB, going up to 2.2 now. So we'll see how the likes of GDB, young DJ CJ, are going to react now in trying to close up that gap, or they might risk completely losing out on any chance of battling for the victory here as quickly as this race started. Now, actually, give me a quick moment. What happened to Chief Braids as he's just being overtaken on track by Unholy Red Eye? Really must have caught Chief Braids napping. Now, crucially, it's Heavy getting very close behind the Mercedes of Disgruntled Muppet. 3/10 now as he's going to close up using a little bit of ERS, but might just be holding off, going to be waiting for one more lap, because that is when DRS becomes active. But look at the pace difference on the exit of the final chicane here, as that was Chief Braids now going down, trying to go down the inside. They're 2x2 now, as you're seeing Disgruntled Muppet trying to go down force down the outside, which turns into the inside. So holds on to P6, but It's Heavy came so close. And oh no, speaking of It's Heavy, a little bit of oversteer here through the exit of turn 2. Got a little bit too overzealous on the traction. He's falling way down the order as he was facing the wrong way on circuit. And that's a big time loss as he finds himself down in 18th position. But here, only lap 3, loads of time to catch back up, loads of time to just put on those afterburners, get that recovery drive going, and try to close up as much as you can. Now, here comes K-Dog going down the outside of Clogmonger here, and he makes the move work, and crucially his teammate is right behind, actually now side by side, but being forced to the outside by Clogmonger. He's gonna have to go the long way around his Guitar Maniac, but he's keeping it in there, and it looks as though he finds the traction he needs, goes up into P13 and can follow along with his teammate. But crucially, Clogmonger coming right back here as he's going to go down the inside, going towards the final corner. We're 2x2 now with Settle Butthole and Kaz having a moment, but that's Clogmonger backing out. He's diving into the pits here, and very early on lap 4, as he must be having an issue with that car, looking to get that fixed sooner rather than later, and maybe putting on a set of hard tires, actually going to be really looking to go the difference, or really go the distance, I should say, here for this race with those hard tires. Now already we're seeing some time penalties start to fall. Disgruntled Muppet, Murph, and Selly, the two first drivers to get these time penalties, they will be tacked on to their time here, but it's still Hey-Tight Gaming leading the way, getting that start he needed, and really pushing that number 14 Haas car, holding on to that 2.2 second gap by GDB, but young DJ CJ really keeping up now. He's finding his step a little bit more here after the initial blunders, and you can see now trying to make a move to go back into second, going down into the final corner, very much so pulls it off here as young DJ CJ starting to push. He's back up into second, but that gap now is up to 2.6, so he is really going to have to hurry. A little bit further behind, Chief Braids in the Williams is right behind the Mercedes of Unholy Red Eye, and you see big moment from the Mercedes driver up ahead, but is able to keep that car under control. But that closes that gap right up so much more than it already had, and this might be an overtaking opportunity down this back DRS straight after the chicane. If Chief Braids can find the traction he needs here, get the exit, he opens up DRS, and you can see him barreling down, trying to catch up. I don't think he's going to close up enough here, as he still stays behind the Mercedes, but is going to, I feel like a move is only a matter of time now for Chief Braids on Unholy Red Eye, as if he gets the exit around the chicane here, the hairpin, not the chicane. There's many chicanes, but that is not one of them. Apologies for that. But you're seeing now Chief Braids, he is pushing. It appears not really much ERS to work with. He's going to go for the move. Got to be late on the braking. Side by side there. And you see Unholy Red Eye potentially being pushed a little bit wide. I think Chief Braids maybe knew that was a little bit of a funky move. But look at this right behind. Here comes the best Pones now making a move, as we've got nearly 3 wide with Disgruntled Muppet, Murph and Selly, and VTech getting involved. Here's Disgruntled Muppet, Murph and Selly, and they're in the wall. That's it looked like Disgruntled Muppet tried to squeeze out Murph and Selly, did not leave one car's length there, as that put both Disgruntled Muppet and more so Murph and Selly into the wall there, and that McLaren is probably not happy about that at all, as he does have end plate damage, and now is being pressured by the Ferrari and lost out on a position from VTech, who finds himself up into P8 now, trying to chase down the Mercedes, but very questionable defending here from Disgruntled Muppet, I found, on that defense through turn 2. Now, whether or not he didn't realize the McLaren was still there, whether or not that might have just been a tank slapper on the car, we won't know, but it appeared as though from the angle we had that it might have been, could have gone a little bit differently had the line been kept. But back to the action here now, as we're seeing VTech in the Red Bull on your screen. Murph and Selly, he's not missed a beat here, still keeping up with that Red Bull, even with that slight end play damage, as they approach here turn 1 to start lap 7 out of 35. Still very early stages, and now Chief Braids, he's putting pressure right back on the best Pones, who quite literally came out of nowhere and made an overtake about a lap ago down into turn 1, turn 2, while Chief Braids was stuck focusing on Unholy Red Eye, and to be fair, I was as well. the Best Pones really came out of nowhere and pulled off an overtake. I was not expecting one bit. He finds himself up into P5 and now is chasing down the Mercedes, who could breathe a little bit easier for just a few moments, but not so much now, as he's going to find the Alfa Romeo in DRS range here, now starting to close up. So Unholy Red Eye will need to go back to the defense here, but we might see our first round of pit stops here for these soft tire runners. So the top two took their pit stop. That was Haytide Gaming and Young DJ CJ, but GDB, Unholy Red Eye, the Best Pones, Chief Braids, they're staying out. Disgruntled Muppets staying out, Murph and Selly staying out, but you're seeing a big battle here. VTech getting involved as Houdini gets ahead now of VTech, and so did Murph and Selly. So definitely seeing the that end plate damage not affecting all that much the Mercedes, the McLaren driver, as he still finds himself in P6. But crucially now for VTech, he's losing out on a lot of pace on those medium tires. And it looks as though maybe these soft tires are going a little bit longer, or possibly those mediums just don't quite have the pace ready there just yet that you would want to expect from them after 7 laps. But Haytide Gaming, he's out in 10th, now right behind a Wild Maida, who has yet to take a pit stop on those soft tires. So you can see Haytide Gaming probably has an advantage going down to the inside here. But props to a Wild Maida, trying all he can to keep it around the outside, but a very difficult task when you're on those 7-lap-old soft tires. Chief Braids now, Murph and Selly look like dive into the pits, but it looks like the Best Pones and Chief Braids now going side by side. That's the Best Pones now leading the race, but they still stay out. Chief Braids stays out. Murph and Selly, who's a little bit further behind, he stays out. And of course the medium tire runners have stayed out as well. But now the grid order is switching, as you're seeing a lot of soft tire runners opting to take their pit stops. Some going possibly for the one-stop soft to hards, but it looks as though for the most part, drivers committing to the 2-stop strategy, feeling it is going to be faster, going soft, medium, medium, or soft, soft, mediums here. Haytide Gaming getting ahead of VTech to go up into P5 as he's continuing his charge back up the grid. He only has one medium tire runner to get past, and he sees him right ahead. That's Houdini. And after that, he knows the top 3 are going to have to take their first scheduled pit stop. To be fair, Houdini will as well, but Haytide Gaming absolutely running away with this here and doing a very good job of using that traffic to his advantage, gaining a gap here between himself and Young DJ CJ, who finds himself in 8th, closing up to Kaz. Now you see he does get ahead of the Alfa Romeo there to go up into P7, has his teammate ahead of him in VTech, but VTech is still a little bit of a distance away. Houdini now leading the race as the top 3 took their pit stops, and they are all going on the medium tires, committing to that 2-stop. Now here is Haytide Gaming really right up behind Houdini. You can see practically pushing him around the corner here, and I would not be surprised to see a possible overtake once we get into this DRS zone here. As you can see, so close together, you can throw a blanket over these 2 cars, and there we go. Down the inside now goes Haytide Gaming as he retakes the lead of the race after his pit stop, and his closest rival here so far in these early stages, Young DJ CJ in the Red Bull, finding himself in only P4 and about 4 or 5 seconds behind the leader now, as he's got to catch up. Now Chief Braids here very close to Snooker, as you're seeing there's a lot of pressure here. Snooker up into 9th, but has yet to take his scheduled pit stop as he's going longer on those mediums. But Chief Braids, if he wants to gain some time here in that podium battle, he is going to have to get past Snooker very soon. And you see he opens up his DRS down the outside. He goes well before the final chicane into the Wall of Champions as he get that move sorted, and he goes up into P9 and is going to have to try to close up. It's a 1.9 second gap to the Best Pones, who seems to be his biggest competitor, at least in this stage of the Grand Prix, as they've been very close ever since Pones made that very great move here when nobody was expecting it. But Wilde made taking a pit stop after only one lap on those hard tires, so definitely not feeling those tires all that much, and possibly a missed strategy call from the pit wall there, thinking that the hard tires were going to be quicker, but at the end of the day, it did not seem like it is the case. Putting on a set of mediums, back out on track now to put your head down, really push, try to catch up to this grid here. Now, Disgruntled Muppet, he was putting a lot of pressure on Rise to go to try to overtake up into 14th, but Rise doing what he has to do on those 9-lap-old medium tires, has a lot of VRS to work with. But the Disgruntled Muppet, he's going to try to lunge one down the inside, really going the long way around, but going to have to rely on the traction, and those newer tires do give him the traction he needed, as Rise very easily gets overtaken as he falls down into P15, and you can see Disgruntled Muppet having DRS to boot, which does not help Rise, as it's K-Dog is in 16th, and he now has DRS on Rise as well. So Rise kind of a sitting duck there, but he is able to use some of that ERS to his advantage, I think, in order to allow himself to hold on to that position. Now, further up the grid, it is the Red Bulls who switched positions. Young DJ CJ up into a podium now, up into P3. This was Kaz who got ahead of Unholy Red Eye, or actually I think Unholy Red Eye tried an overtake, but just could not make it work. But GDB is now right there behind. You can see going side by side, but we have a yellow flag here on track, as let's see, it's going back to greens crucially, so no safety car coming out, but Unholy Red Eye gets ahead of Kaz, who's still battling back, might go down the inside, but you can see GDB, he wants to get past here too. You gotta nail the exit, GDB, and then try to push here, going down into turn 1. You can see here though, might have not done that, as he's gonna be stuck behind Kaz, and that's gonna let Unholy Red Eye possibly build a little bit of a gap, but Kaz going very deep, nearly losing the back end on turn 2. You saw the struggle there on those 12-lap-old medium tires as he's feathering the car around. Look at the pace difference. He's going to try around the outside. It's going to turn into the inside of this corner, but needs to slot back as he's not going to get that overtake done. But now, here we go. With the help of DRS, we might see it move down the inside. Not much ERS to work with, though, compared to Kaz. But Kaz is holding on still. You can see going very deep there into that chicane, through into what I believe is turn 8. In that chicane with the, or might be turn 9 actually, as through the hairpin now. There we go. In the inside goes GDB, and now it's going to be a drag race to the final chicane here, and I think GDB is going to get it, but it's going to be close. GDB is down the inside, does slot himself ahead of Kaz, as Houdini's taking a pit stop. He's getting off of his initial medium tire set, as he is putting on a set of soft tires here on lap 14 out of 35. And we have more yellow flags. What happened here, as looks like it's heavy in the grass as he's trying to get back on track. And did he take any wing damage here? Let's take a look at that car as he's coming down the back straight. Does not look like it, so I think maybe just a tank slapper going wrong for Heavy here, as he finds himself in 17th. It's a couple positions lost for the Ferrari driver, as he is going to really have to recover from that here on those medium tires. 10-lap-old medium tires now, but maybe might be time for a bold strategy call here. Try and undercut and see how that can affect you. But at this stage of the race, if you're going to do an undercut, try to go to the end. You might be committing to the hard tires here, as Subtle But Whole takes a 3-second time penalty, and you can see on your screen now, time penalties very much so affecting every driver, except 4 of them have taken penalties thus far in this race. The Best Pones gets past his teammate of Kaz. Not much of a battle there, as now Kaz can focus on keeping Chief Braids behind, the main rival of the Best Pones here. but we'll have to see. Chief Braids is on the fresher set of tires. We'll keep an eye out on this battle as they're coming through into turn 2 now. And oh, big tank slapper, and Chief Braids gets caught up in that as well. Big wing damage now for Kaz, as Chief Braids was unfortunately wrong place, wrong time. I don't think there was anything overtly wrong with the move. No contact from what it seemed. It just looked as though Kaz just lost the back end, and unfortunately for Chief Braids at that point, it was just wrong place, wrong time, and he got swept right up with it. Now, thankfully, there's no wing damage on that Williams, but that is incredible amount of time lost here for the Williams, as he was trying to chase down the best Pones, who is in 6th. And Chief Braids finds himself all the way down in 12th now after that very costly mistake, but very quickly getting back on the throttle, getting back pedal to the metal, putting some pressure on Snooker ML, who's up ahead, still rolling on those medium tires. Now, what's going on? We have a virtual safety car. So that's VTech diving into the pits. And was that Heavy who might have had a moment? You can see no wing on that Ferrari. That is gotta be painful, as he's trying to get around the track there. You can see under virtual safety car now, as we have essentially neutralized the race. Lots of drivers taking some pit stops here under VSC. Or at least those who can, but It's Heavy is very much so going to have to take a pit stop, and it's going to be a long one at that, as he is going to have to fix that front wing, get a fresh set of tires on, and get back out on track here. But lap 16 out of 35, the virtual safety car is out. We can take a breather. The race has been neutralized, but not for long, as we're back to green flag racing now here. Virtual safety cars never really last all that long. They come in, just take that debris out, and we go back to racing. No need for laps under the safety car, some wasted laps. The drivers love it, and if you're Hayrpin Gaming, you're very happy it was a virtual safety car, as he's got an 8-second lead now to young DJ CJ, as the Haas of Hayrpin Gaming is absolutely running away with this race. But GDB now going down the inside of Unholy Red Eye. Now Unholy Red Eye trying a switchback move. He do get ahead of Rise, who just came out of the pits. So Unholy Red Eye is now in a little bit of a Racing Point sandwich here on track. So we'll see how that plays out. But GDB starting to get away, and that might be an indicator that these soft tires for Unholy Red Eye just might not have that grip anymore as he was hoping for. He might need to take a pit stop here sooner rather than later and put on a set of either hards or mediums. But if he's going to put on a set of mediums, we've seen them go about 14, 15 laps at the most. So he's going to have to last 3 more laps on these soft tires. So at least the best Pones is 5 seconds behind, so that might be a bit more of a focus. But now that I'm mentioning it, you can see Unholy Red Eye, still putting pressure on GDB here, so might have just been conserving a little bit of tire management there, and now is trying to push once again as he's down this back straight through Wall of Champions. But GDB just getting slight better exits in this stage on those slightly fresher medium tires. Although they are on the same lap degradation, the medium tires do degrade a little bit slower than the soft tires, so they are at a position now where they might be going just a little bit faster on these exits. Now, let's take a look. We'll try to find some battles here on circuit. Oh, it is. We switch over to that. See, Freeman tried to make a lunge down the inside of a Wild Maida, but Wild Maida having none of that. Nothing wrong with that. I think C. Freeman just tried to get the car around, could not, clipped the rear tire of Maida, and just went for a little bit of a half spin. So not much loss there, just a tiny little bit of time, but no damage. He can get back on his way, try to close that gap right back up to go at it here once again. But lap 18 out of 35, Hayrpin Gaming leading the way, the gap up to 9 seconds now. But on your screen, you have Disgruntled Muppet putting a little bit of pressure on Chief Braids. Chief Braids up into, wasn't 10th, in 11th, but going very deep goes Disgruntled Muppet into the Hairpin Corner. You cannot do that if you're expecting to hold on to that move. And Disgruntled Muppet found out firsthand why that is the case, as Chief Braids gets right back up ahead, back up into P10, and he holds on to that 10th position as both of these drivers are trying to close down to Settle But Hold, who, to be fair, started last on the grid and finds himself in a great position right now, running in P9 on these 10-lap-old medium tires on a similar strategy as essentially the leaders of the race, Haytide Gaming, Young DJ CJ. So it shows the power of keeping clean, keeping consistent laps, staying out of trouble, and Settle But Hold driving this to an absolute T here as he finds himself into a top 10 and an early candidate for the hardest charger here for this first race of the season. But now Disgruntled Muppet, you can see, putting pressure going down the inside here. We're going to see an overtake, and the overtake does happen as Disgruntled Muppet goes up into P10. Chief Braids down in 11th, but for Chief Braids, he is going to have DRS down this back straight, so he should be able to close that gap right back up and re-overtake the Mercedes as Rise, he's had enough. He is out of this session as you see, I believe that was a Racing Point retiring in the pits, as you can see there. Chief Braids getting ahead of Disgruntled Muppet, but they're going side by side as, oh no, that was Chief Braids into the wall, right as I missed that, unfortunately, but that was Chief Braids getting back on circuit now, as it looked as though they might have tried to go side by side in the final chicane, and more often than not, that ends with one or more drivers not getting the outcome they were hoping for, and I think this was one of those situations where unfortunately Chief Braids just did not get that outcome. But here Murph and Selly, look at how close he is to the best Pones, as Murph and Selly now putting a lot of pressure on the Alfa Romeo here, as trying to battle for P4. He's going to want to have a slice of that top four, maybe push for that podium, as the best Pones might be struggling on those tires here. But you're seeing now going down the outside well before the final corner there, with the help of DRS and ERS, gets the overtake done. Now what happened here, that's Wild Maida, I think looked as though he went a little bit deep here in the corner, but might just be because he's battling it out with C. Freeman for P16, and C. Freeman really trying to get past the Williams driver here, but Maida doing a very good job defending through DRS, through into that chicane. A little bit of a gap is left here as C. Freeman, he's closed it right back up, and he's might be trying to make an overtake here with the help of DRS down this back straight. Crucially, Kaz is trying to get ahead of the Renault of Guitar Maniac, as you're seeing on those fresh soft tires. We'll get to that in just a moment, as we've got a little side-by-side battle here, and C. Freeman going down the inside there of a Wild Maida, and that came very close as, oh no, Guitar Maniac, he takes a spin going into the chicane here. Let's ride on board with Snooker and see exactly where that happens. He's trying to get back on track here, coming through the downhill turns 3, turn 4. Looked like he clipped the curb at turn 4 there. Lost the back end into the wall. That allowed Kaz an easy position there. Guitar Maniac falling down the order 1 position, and Snooker's now caught right back up to Guitar Maniac, so there could be a battle here for P14. Young DJ CJ, he's taking a pit stop here to start lap 22, as he's putting on a set of medium tires. He should be able to go to the end. Haytide Gaming is out already of the pits, and he is on a fresh set of mediums, and he's only in 2nd position now. But looking very primed, very poised to take the lead right back of this race, unless GDB has anything to say about it. Now, Disgruntled Muppet and Young DJ CJ, that was Disgruntled Muppet getting ahead, as I think they might have been side by side coming out of the pits, and that traction wasn't there. Now, C. Freeman got ahead of Snooker, as C. Freeman finds himself in P15. GDB down in 2nd as Haytide Gaming gets an overtake done. Maida now going down the inside of Snooker, as Snooker falls down into P17. Those hard tires really struggling for pace in this stage of the race, compared to the quicker medium tires that we're seeing drivers ahead. but Snooker looking to play the long con, hoping to regain that track position once other drivers do need to pit. But GDB now taking a pit stop as Hairpin Gaming is now leading this race once again. Murphin Selly is in P2, but he's gonna have to take a pit stop most likely, and so is the Best Pones. VTech as well, he's gonna have to take a pit stop. Unholy Red Eye might be the closest driver to catch up, but he's gonna have to go the distance on those mediums here. But very, very far behind, more than 12-13 seconds ahead of Unholy Red Eye is Hairpin Gaming. So it's his race to lose at this stage here on lap 23 out of 35. This race has absolutely flown by thus far, with Hairpin Gaming leading just about every lap here so far of this Grand Prix. But Chief Braids now putting pressure. He is still putting a lot of pressure on Disgruntled Muppet. We'll see if the Williams driver can maybe get an overtake done here. Going down through with the help of DRS, doesn't catch up in time to allow an overtake there, but heading towards the final hairpin here, the one and only final hairpin of this circuit. He is maybe going to try to get a run down with the help of DRS down the long back straight, the primary overtaking zone, as Hairpin Gaming, he's adding insult to injury. He set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix thus far. Chief Braids closes up, but not enough to get the overtake done before the final chicane. But we'll see heading into turn 1 if he's going to get that run he needs. Doesn't appear to be the case though, as the Williams is still stuck behind the Mercedes, and it might be the case for at least one more lap here, as we are on lap 24. 11 laps to go in this Grand Prix. We are watching Chief Braids is on board right now, as he is very much so putting pressure on Disgruntled Muppet, half a second behind, as now he's got DRS I should say. You're seeing GDB, who's closing up behind at a rate of knots on those very fresh medium tires, 1 lap old here, and he might want to get involved with the action, might be able to get involved in this action as well. You're seeing Chief Braids nearly going very deep there on in the corner. GDB caught right back up to these two now. 2/10 behind Chief Braids now, but Chief Braids, I think he's going to go for a move. Very much so, gets it done down the inside well before the final chicane. And is that GDB now is going to try to go down the inside? Disgruntled Muppet makes it a little bit easy as he dives into the pits. He's going to take his pit stop, but here comes GDB now. Is he going to try a move down the inside now of turn 1? Oh, not much room left. Elbows out for the two drivers there, as now GDB around the outside finds the traction. Chief Braids maybe not too happy about that, feeling like as though he might have had the racing line, might have had that corner already. A late move from GDB, a late decision to go down the inside, but it works out for him as Chief Braids back down into 8th. GDB goes up into 7th as he is starting his chase now to young DJ CJ, who finds himself in P6, Unholy Red Eye in 5th, but now VTech right behind the Best Pones. And now let's see, with the help of possibly DRS, now that it's open, using up just about everything he has in the tank in the form of ERS, as he is closing. That's gonna be the Best Pones diving into the pits here to take their final pit stop. VTech, he's continuing on track, and maybe VTech, he's gonna take a pit stop by the next lap, I would think, as we have 9 laps to go in this Grand Prix. The Best Pones putting on a set of soft tires. He's gonna be absolutely pushing to the end as much as he can here to regain those positions. Now, K-Dog, he's about to put a lot of pressure on Disgruntled Muppet on the 3-lap-old medium tires. Disgruntled Muppet just came out of the pits here, and he's on the fresh set of mediums, so they're very close together, these two drivers are, in terms of the tire wear. It's more of a matter of who can nail these corners, who can nail these exits, who can take the best possible line, who can take the quickest line around this track. So we'll have to keep an eye out on this battle, as this race is very quickly starting to come to its end. 9 laps to go in this Grand Prix here, as We're seeing more pit stops, drivers opting to put on the soft tires here, I think, to go all the way to the end of the race, be on that quickest tire, go as quick as they possibly can. But crucially, this battle has taken a bit of a breather. VTech, along with Murph and Selly, they're both taking a pit stop. VTech, he's putting on the medium tires to go to the end. So a little bit late for the medium tires, in my opinion, if I'm being honest here. Might have wanted a set of softs instead if he was going to pit this late into the race. Murph and Selly, though, he is going to be putting on the soft tires going to the end. You saw Kaz diving into the pits. He's going to get off those soft tires after 10 laps. So that promotes both Disgruntled Muppet and K-Dog up 1 positions, up to P10 and P11 respectively, as this battle is still brewing here. We're still seeing K-Dog trying to chase down Disgruntled Muppet, but it seems as though the gap is staying right around the same. So Disgruntled Muppet doing a very good job of managing that gap. Either that or K-Dog might just be conserving some ERS, so that way when he's ready to push, he will get that overtake done and maybe not give Disgruntled Muppet any time to try to come back at him, make a move himself to take that position right back. But we'll see how this all plays out on lap 28 out of 35. A-Tight Gaming is absolutely on a flyer right now. He is leading the way. Nobody can seem to catch him. Seems like the only driver who can stop him is himself here, as he has a 20-second gap to Unholy Red Eye, who finds himself in P2 for the Mercedes, driving a very solid race here. And young DJ CJ finds himself back on the podium. He qualified in second, but did not have the start of the race he was hoping for, but had a decent recovery, finds himself on the podium, and we'll see, maybe he's 4.2 seconds back of Unholy Red Eye. He's got a little bit of ERS in the tank to work with. If he can put his head down and nail a couple laps in a row, he might be able to close that gap up and maybe try to get an overtake done. And he could have a little bit of support as he's approaching a back marker here. That might be Guitar Maniac, which could help out in the form of some DRS down some of these long back straights. Now, crucially, it looks like the Best Pones, he is absolutely flying right now, trying to catch up, as you're seeing back markers being overtaken here on track down this back straight. The best, easiest spot to let quicker drivers through. And you're seeing that was Clogmonger taking a pit stop here, getting off those mediums, putting on a fresh set of boots. Now the Best Pones down to 1.2 seconds is the gap, and absolutely closing here at a very quick rate is the Best Pones. So we'll see once he gets in that overtaking position on the Ferrari. I would expect a move to be done, as the Best Pones is going to try to get up the order, snag as many points as he can here on this opening race here at the Canadian Grand Prix. But we are on lap 29 out of 35, 6 laps to go in this Grand Prix. A-Tight Gaming leading the way, and we have a yellow flag in what looked to be this section right over here. I'm trying to see, is there any front wing that might have been affected? Not that I can see. More yellow flags here, as what's going on? That's a Ferrari. Is that no, that's not Houdini, it's Heavy once again having struggling around that hairpin corner, finding his Ferrari once again in the grass, not where you want to be. And that's more time loss for the Ferrari of It's Heavy here very late in the race, as we are just starting lap 35 laps to go in this Grand Prix at the Canadian Grand Prix. And the question is, can anybody catch Houdini, or can Houdini make it to the end? We will find out in 5 laps time. Murph and Selly, he's not given up here on a prospect of more points. He's putting some pressure on GDB and looking to be in a very solid position here with only 3-lap-old soft tires, as he is absolutely pushing to the end. But clipping those walls like that definitely won't help one bit with catching up, as that is going to lose a lot of time and maybe cause even more damage to the car. Doesn't look like there's much of any now, but that could be very different if he's not careful. But now you can see very quickly Murph and Selly catching up to GDB, but it does not appear as if, oh, actually it looks like he will. DRS, he's flying now, going down the outside, gets it done just before the corner. Now here comes the Best Pones trying to do the exact same thing, unable to close up enough, but maybe going into turn 1 he might be able to get the overtake done, as there's VTech in the distance there. But no, unable to close up enough of the gap to Houdini to get the overtake done to try to go up into 6. Now if you're the Best Pones, you might want to start pushing now. You've only got 4 laps to go, and the gap between Houdini and GDB now is only rising, as Murph and Selly does find himself in P4, trying to close up to young DJ CJ, and that's going to be 4 seconds and 4 laps that Murph and Selly is going to have to close up and then overtake if he wants any chance at that podium. But that said, penalties could also play a factor here near the end of the race. We'll get to those in a moment, as we have Kaz right behind C. Freeman as they went through turn 2, battling here for P13, so I believe still points here on circuit, on the table for these drivers, so definitely worth to battle it out. You want to start your season off on the right foot, and the more points you get, the better here in these early stages. It makes the end of the season that much easier for you when you know you snagged some points early on. Now you see the overtake done. That's Kaz up into 13th. See Freeman in the AlphaTauri down into 14th. Gonna try coming back around the outside, maybe a switchback move here. He's gonna have to find the traction very quickly if he wants to barrel it down this back DRS straight and have any chance of re-overtaking Kaz, who's on a much fresher set of soft tires. And to be fair, he came close, but not close enough was Steve Freeman to get the overtake. But now going into excuse me, going into turn 1, he does get it done, but Kaz sticking around the outside, turns into the inside now. C. Freeman going very deep into turn 2, so that allowed Kaz to get back up into 13th, hang on to that position, and that gap now back down to 6/10 of a second. Now, if I'm looking here, Best Pones still behind Houdini, unable to catch up, trying to use up anything he's got in the tank with ERS. But it doesn't seem like it's enough, as Houdini has conserved his battery to a T here. He's got enough to hang on to this P6 on those tires, but I think sense of urgency is now really brewing with Best Pones, as he's trying to push Houdini, a big tank slapper there. That is not going to help his case one bit, as Best Pones 3/10 of a second behind. You've got the chase cam here. You're seeing the pressure the Alfa Romeo is putting on the Ferrari as they come through down into second gear, quickly up the gears on the acceleration. But Houdini just nailing those exits that he needs to nail to grow that gap and not allow Best Pones to close up and have a chance at overtaking. So a solid defensive drive by Houdini as Maytide Gaming starts the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. Lap 34 out of 35. Most of the drivers behind are just finishing up lap 33 out of 35 here. But we're riding on board here still with the Best Pones, trying to put a lot of pressure on Houdini. He's closing here, but is it going to be enough to try a move? No, it's not. Not through the final chicane, but maybe down into turn 1, turn 2. But look at the exit Houdini's getting, as any time that was gained through the corners, Houdini makes it right back up with his exits here on those medium tires, as now the Best Pones has only 2 laps now to try to get an overtake done. Speaking of overtake, Chief Braids, he's right back in it, trying to put pressure on K-Dog. He wants to get ahead, get up into P11, snag that away from the Renault. But here with the penultimate lap, a few laps to go here, could be difficult. We have a yellow flag as that might be blue flags letting drivers through here, so nothing to worry too much there. But there you go, you see that on your screen. Hairpin Gaming at a level above the rest. He is starting his final lap of the Grand Prix, lap 35 out of 35. Unholy Red Eye in second now, 23 seconds behind just about. He's just crossing the line to start his final lap now. So Hairpin Gaming only has a few sectors two sectors to go before he can truly be home free now. But we still have many battles on the track to keep an eye out for here. One of which is Chief Braids and K-Dog. Closing up comes Chief Braids down the inside now, but Chief Braids hanging out around the outside, needs to back out of the corner as the Williams of Chief Braids does go up into P11. K-Dog finds himself down in 12th on those 13-lap old medium tires now on the final lap of the Grand Prix here. And we'll see, he's going to have to put a lot of pressure. He's going to have to push if he wants to close up. You can see the gap already that the Williams driver is building. Murph and Selly, though, he's done a very good job catching up as Hairpin Gaming crosses the line, takes the victory here. He is your winner at the first race here at the Canadian Grand Prix. It's race 1 of season 3 of the Midwest Formula 1 Championship here in Division 3. Unholy Red Eye around the final chicane. He's about to cross the line. Young DJ CJ right behind as he does take P2 as Unholy Red Eye loses out on P2 thanks to penalties, but just stays on the podium as Murph and Selly comes in P4. GDB, it's Houdini actually rounding out the top 5. GDB falling down the order here, down in 7th is VTech in 6th. GDB in 7th, Best Pones in 8th. Subtle but whole. What a drive from him in the McLaren, excuse me, as he brings that car from P20 on the grid up to P9, nailing the strategy and pulling out a top 10 of what was essentially nothing. So very, very solid drive as we just need Kaz to cross the line here, and that will do it here for the Canadian Grand Prix. Very quickly, 35 laps around the track, done and dusted here for what was race 1 out of 12. Subtle but whole gets the driver of the day as voted by the people of Montreal, Quebec here in the F1 2020 universe, and I do have to agree with them, although I do have to congratulate the podium and on their success here. Well-earned points here at the Canadian Grand Prix. Now the Haas absolutely ran away with the race, but you can you got to give props to young DJ CJ. Had a tough start, kept his nose in there, kept things kept it clean, did what he had to do, snagged that P2, snagged that second step of the podium. But through the order one more time, Hairpin Gaming in the Haas from pole takes the victory here in very decisive fashion. He is your winner at the Canadian Grand Prix with young DJ CJ and Unholy Red Eye rounding out the top 3, rounding out the podium. Murph and Selly in 4th and Houdini 1313 round out the top 5 with VTech in 6th, GDB in 7th, the Best Pone in 8th, Subtle But Whole in 9th, K-Dog rounding out the top 10 with Chief Braids in 11th, Disgruntled Muppet in 12th, Kaz FSJ in 13th, A Wild Maida in 14th, and C Freeman rounding out the top 15, Snooker in 16th, Guitar Maniac in 17th, Clogmonger in 18th, It's Heavy in 19th, and it is the Racing Point of Rise who DNF'd, retired very early out of this race, rounding out the top 20 of what was a very exciting first race of the season for Division 3. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I do hope you enjoyed the race as much as I did, and this was an absolute banger to start off Season 3 here. Now, of course, tune in next week. We will be back, same time, same place, Division 3, championship action as we take to the lights of Bahrain. It is off to the desert. It is Bahrain short, so you will not want to miss that race, as it is going to be a good one. Next week, 9:30 Eastern Time, 8:30 Central, here on the channel. But until then, my name has been Fallen Monkeys, saying thank you so much for watching, and we will see you guys next time. Have yourselves a fantastic evening.